breaker in a sense, because the major achievement of the first emperor was to unite China. So the real beneficiary, the first beneficiary was the Han Dynasty of a united China. Next. This lasted about 400 years, and it was started really by a commoner, a very ordinary person who just was able to overthrow the previous emperor. Next. In terms of culture and education, it was a very Confucian-influenced type of government. The emperor was a firm believer in Confucianism. Next. And the ruling philosophy of the emperors of the Han Dynasty were like what we have summarized here, right? The emperor must provide moral example, lead by example, and punishment, as what Confucius' teachings are, if I understand it correctly, is that punishment is used usually only as a supplement, and moral guidance is emphasized. So, during this Han Dynasty, the education system was very advanced. You have already a very nicely structured education system. You have the state-sponsored institutions. This is at the central government. You have the imperial university. You have the special colleges. And you have the local administrative the Dark Ages will come later. So it was a very open society. Knowledge was not the monopoly of the Confucian scholar. It was not the monopoly of the priest. It was available to anyone to learn. And the impact of that is as substantial as what you get now in terms of internet, in terms of the disruptive technologies that we are facing now. Then the other great dynasty is the Song Dynasty, which, from my view, although it was militarily, physically was smaller than the Tang Dynasty, and militarily it was not as strong, but in totality, I would classify the Song Dynasty as the premier dynasty of China. And it had market economy, it was urbanized, there's monetization. These are all the features of the Song Dynasty, which is why I use this to justify my claim that the Song Dynasty was the dynasty in Chinese history. Next. Again, you have your the civil service. Next. And the science, technology, and inventions were also continuous. The innovations and inventions were not just in those technological or industrial sectors, but also in agriculture. You have the major step forward. Instead of just wood block, now it's the movable type of printing. The typical history will tell you that Gutenberg is the first inventor of movable printing. Actually, that's not true. It started many centuries in China before that. And then you have the radar here, the compass. Now, if you add the invention, because before this invention, you cannot steer the ship, you cannot manipulate the ship. It's difficult. With this, the maneuvering, the managing of the ship, the navigating of the ship became a lot more efficient. The invention of the compass, the radar, the gunpowder were the three main inventions that Opinion on digital free trade zone. You want an honest answer? No, serious. I'm serious. I'm serious. I didn't bother to read it. That is an honest answer. Because we have multiple MSC, multi-super corridor, right? We were head start, nothing worked out. Now you got the DFTZ, right? We got it's supposed to be located where? I didn't bother to read about it because I reached a stage of skepticism and cynicism that will take a lot to reverse them. I'll wait 5 years and then we'll have coffee again and then see what the answer is. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tan. I know you from my previous associate. My question is very simple. I'm interested in what you say about the low costs, that the EPF people are having in Malaysia because the wages are very low. So the question is, why is the Malaysian wages so low? Can it go up further? Let me tell you that I'm also sitting on the Minimum Wage Council.
Oh, okay.
So I have a lot to do with this discussion.
Right.
But we are now in the process of trying to have another round of discussion, whether it should go up or it should go down.
You frightened him.
Yeah. But the question is a serious question because if Malaysia continues to have wages going up, the statistics is telling us that the more we go on the minimum wage, a lot more companies will go bust. So the question is, do you think Malaysia can go further than what it is now?
Thank you for a very good question. I'm glad that you are in the Wages Council. Sydney is building a very major LRT, and after a long delay. And if you look at the people,
okay, don't because people say closed-end funds trade at a discount, then ended up you shouldn't touch it. Because you buy a discount, you will sell at a discount for now, but if the discount can tighten, you will benefit. That's one thing. Second thing, your cost is lower when it comes to investments. Okay? With that, I will just end my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Kian-Tek. We would proceed with our question and answer session. If you would like to ask a question, please raise your hand. We'll pass the mic to you.
Let me introduce Teng Bu, if you have never met him before.
you gave a lot of good points. No, we will stay together.
Do you have a question?
Good afternoon. My name is Lim.
No, go please.
Hello, my name is Lim. I just have one question. Given that iCapital has been around for 12 years, and yet we have only one closed-end fund, with your experience and your expertise, is there any possibility of Capital Dynamics launching another closed-end fund anytime in the future, given what you have just highlighted on the cost benefit of a closed-end fund versus a unit trust fund? Thank you.
I'll take that question. We are definitely very convinced and very sure that we want to launch more closed-end funds. In fact, we already have about 5 closed-end funds that we have 2 closed-end funds that can be launched like tomorrow. We have 1 closed-end fund that it's at a very advanced stage, which is quite a unique closed-end fund. We have another one that is at the initial stage, but we have easily 5 closed-end funds that are pretty interesting and exciting that can be launched. The problem, as Kentek mentioned earlier, it is not just within Malaysia, but it's also in Singapore, it's also in Hong Kong, where for some strange reasons, the regulators in these markets don't understand closed-end funds. We worked in Hong Kong for 5 years, from 2010, very extensively with the regulator in Hong Kong, to launch a dual-listed closed-end fund. It took them 5 years to finally come back to us in July 2015 and tell us that they don't understand the closed-end